Assalamu alaikum dear students. Today in this lecture we will be again studying the Pakistan Environmental Protection Act 1997. In the last lecture we started with this act, and we also studied the background of this act, and we also studied that how it actually originated. And today we will continue with our basic sections of this act. And what kind of sections were in the previous lecture. So normally starting with the basic definitions, because most of the terminology which was to be used in this act was elaborated in that section of definitions, and then it was followed by the uh, establishment of Pakistan Environmental uh, uh, Protection Council. And that council again, how it will work, what will be its composition, what will be its constitution, uh, what will be the uh, duties of that council. All those were described in that section. And then it was followed by the establishment of the uh, federal agencies. And then we also studied the functions of that agency. What are the what role we are going to expect from that agency, and what are its jurisdictions, and what are its powers, what kind of um, uh, what kind of laws it will be dealing with. And in this lecture we will be continuing our different sections related to Pakistan Environmental Protection Act. The basic purpose of studying these sections is to get an understanding that what is the scope of this act, and what kind of provisions are given to different kinds of organizations, what kind of protection is given to the common man in our country, what kind of protection is given to the industry, what kind of rules and regulations are supposed to be implemented by the different organizations. So we must know the jurisdiction and the limitations and the scope of all the organizations which are going to work on the environment. And furthermore, who is authorized to make a law related to environment, and again, who is authorized to implement it. So we have law, we have regulations, we have authorities, and we must know their scope and their limitations. Continuing with this these sections, if you have a look at this establishment, this section number 8, it is about the establishment, powers and functions of provincial environmental protection agencies. Earlier in the previous lecture we studied the establishment of a federal agency, and now we are talking about provincial protection agencies. Environment is a provincial issue. It has the domain falling in the provincial level, because the environmental impact is changing, environmental behavior is changing from place to place. So federal government is not going to implement a uniform rule all over the country. because it has different requirements under different conditions, and in different areas it varies. So we are concerned about the local environmental problems and local environmental issues. So it is also related to the conservation of the habitat, and it is also about the wildlife. It is also about the flora and fauna. So all these things are uh, specific, site specific. So in this case, the role of the provincial protection agencies is much more than the federal ones. So basically, what the federal agency has done, it has established the national environmental quality standards. So that gave us a standard which is going to be implemented. That gave us a guideline to follow for our different sources like wastewater, like air. So similarly, for drinking purpose, again we have some standards, but it is again the jurisdiction of the provincial protection, environmental protection agencies to develop their own standards, which are more relevant to their conditions, their own provincial conditions. So let's have a brief look. I think if you go through these sections, and then these are their subsections, and then clauses, and then subclasses, you can get a better understanding about the scope and limitations of this EPA, Environmental Protection Act 1997. Just for your reminder, this act is basically established in view of our ordinance, Environmental Protection Ordinance 1983. So all the sections which were described in that ordinance were further elaborated and clarified in this act. And then in 1992 August, we got the conservation strategy. That was also a part of the uh, different federal steps for the protection of environment. And in the light of that strategy, different kinds of laws and policies were supposed to be made. So in the view of that strategy, 1997 act was established. Again, back to this uh, section in which we are going to describe the establishment of provincial EPA, environmental protection agencies, and we will talk about their power and function. So the provincial government shall notify and establish agency, and again it is under the under the section number 26. Now this section we have not studied, but it is about the power to delegate. What kind of power is supposed to be delegated to the uh, uh, provinces, and then furthermore to the agencies. So federal agency is going to transfer this power and utilize its power to form such laws. So if you have a look at it, you can see that this section 26 is about the uh, powers to delegate. So what kind of powers it will be delegated? So under that power, this EPA was established. It is supposed to be headed by a director general appointed by a provincial government, and then its administrative and technical staff under the rule of provincial government will be appointed. And then the power and function of provincial agency shall be exercised and performed by the director general. Then he can also delegate his powers to uh, mm, any staff which he is going to appoint. And then uh, for assistance of the provincial agency in the discharge of its functions, the provincial government shall establish sectoral advisory committees for various sectors and appoint members from among eminent representatives of the relevant sector. So, educational institutions, research institutions, and NGOs representatives will be included in the sectoral advisory committees. Again, this is for the assistance of our environmental protection agency at provincial level. And then next is the establishment of the Provincial Sustainable Development Fund. Now, this fund is going to be established by the government, but for what purpose? It will be used for the protection of environment in different uh, projects. And so, how we are going to use this fund? It will be described in the this section number 9. Have a look at it. Uh, there shall be established in each province a sustainable development fund. Now, this fund will have sources from the grants made or loans advanced by the federal or provincial governments, and then uh, aid and assistance, grants, advances which will be received from foreign governments, and non-obligatory funds which will be received from foreign governments and national or international agencies, and then NGOs. So all these can contribute to this sustainable development fund. And finally, some private organizations and other persons on their own local capacity can also contribute to the sustainable development fund. So this is the source of sustainable development fund. So in this section and the subsection number 1 and 2, in subsection number 2, it is described about the sources of this fund, from where the money will come in this fund, and who can contribute to this fund. And then in the subsection 3, uh, it is about its utilization. So what is this utilization? It is about the providing financial assistance to the projects, and then any other purpose which is in opinion of the board uh, will help achieve environmental objective and purpose. So this is something about the sustainable development fund. And then in the section number 10, you can say management of the provincial uh, development fund. So in management, the most important thing is the hierarchy, the powers, who has the powers to utilize this fund, and who is going to use it, and who is going to govern the this fund. So this fund will be managed by a board known as the Provincial Sustainable Development Fund Board, and which will be chaired by the Chairman Planning and Development Board or Additional Chief Secretary Planning and Development Department. Then furthermore, it will have 6 members, not exceeding 6 members. So maximum number is 6, and the officers from provincial government and including secretaries in charge of finance, industries, and environment will be included in this in the members. And then non-official persons will be included, which will be from the Chamber of Commerce, industry, non NGOs, and donors. And finally, the DG of the Environment Protection Agency or provincial agency will be the member and secretary of this board. So this was something about the management of this fund. Now, what are the powers allocated? In accordance with such procedure and such criteria, the board shall have the power to sanction financial assistance to for eligible projects, invest money, and then take some such measures and exercise such powers as necessary for utilization and provincial of the Provincial Sustainable Development Fund. Finally, in subsection 3, the board shall constitute committees of members to undertake regular monitoring of the project financed. So, the project which is financed by this fund, Sustainable Development Fund, will be monitored by the committee which will be constituted by the board. And then in the end, annual report will be published, which will be like a progress report of the fund. So the 11th section is about the provision of certain discharge or emission. So it is very important section. Under this section, we will be formulating NEQS, National Environmental Quality Standards, and so these things are in this 11. So the next few sections are very much practical and field oriented. So, subject to this act, no person shall discharge or emit or allow the discharge or emission of any effluent waste or air pollutant or noise in an amount, concentration or level in excess of the NEQS. And then, if you further continue, wherever applicable, the standard established under the clause I of clause subclause I of clause G of subsection 1 of section 6. So, if you recall what is section 6, it is about the functions of federal agency. So, please have a look again at section 6. It is about the functions of federal agency. Just for a reminder, I have described the this clause G here. If you can check it here, it is clause G to establish standards for the quality of the ambient air, water, land by notification in the official gazette in consultation with the provincial agency concerned. And the subclause is different standards of discharge or emission from different sources and for different areas and conditions may be specified. So if you check it here, it is the clause G and subclause this I. Here we have subclause I and clause is G and subsection is 1, and so subsection is 1. I have not shown here, but subsection 1 and then section 6 of section 6. Okay, so section 6 again, what is section 6? It is functions of federal agency. So under the federal agency functions, there was establishment of NEQS, National Environmental Quality Standards, which are supposed to be implemented and which are referred here. For the second subsection, the federal government levy a pollution charge on any person. Levy is like to implement some tax. So we are imposing a penalty, pollution charge in the form of tax on any person who contravenes or fails to comply with the provisions of subsection 1. So subsection 1 is just above the this subsection 2, this one which we have already talked about. And then uh, so contravenes is to go against, to disobey. And then any person who pays the pollution charge levied under subsection 2 as above shall not be charged with an offence with respect to that contravention or failure. So again it is a continuation of the subsection 2, and then furthermore you can see the continuation in subsection 4 as well. So now you see here another important section which is related to the initial environmental examination and environmental impact assessment. So this is the significance of this law. Please check it. We are more concerned with our national environmental quality standards. We are concerned with the IEE. We are concerned with the EIAs. These are all the practical things which you are going to do, which you are going to perform in the field, being an environmental engineer. So you must be familiar with the environmental act and its sections and its subsections and its clauses and subclauses which are relevant to the quality standards and these IEE and EIAs. So that's why it is very important for you to know all these EIA these different sections of the act. And then here again, what is the implementation of this act related to IEE and EIA? No proponent of a project shall commence construction or operation unless he has filed with the federal agency and IEE, or where the project is likely to cause an adverse environmental effect, then EIA is compulsory, mandatory to be submitted, and it will be again submitted to the federal agency. And then federal agency is, what is federal agency going to do? It is going to review the initial environmental examination and accord its approval or require a submission of EIA by the proponents, and then it will be reviewed and then approved, and if required it will be resubmitted after the modification as per requirement to reduce the environmental impact. And then this review will be defended in the public, so that the public may also know about the different aspects, environmental aspects. Again, here is some limitation which is about the uh, the secrecy of the project. So if it is necessary and if the proponent has already got permission and to keep it secret, then it will not be disclosed. No information will be disclosed. So again, it is about the uh, uh, so this information to the public is about the project, not about the details and other aspects of the project, to maintain the secrecy and again which is the right of the proponent to be defended. Then uh, if the approval period is taking more than 4 months, then the IEE will already be considered as approved, unless it is uh, not against any environmental impact and not producing any negative impact, or there is no contravention to the provisions of this act. And then we have however, The federal government can extend this period of 4 months depending upon the nature of the project. So the provision will be uh, in the manner as may be prescribed. Again, the federal agency will maintain the details and keep the documents, keep it registered, and all the IEE and EIA data provided by the um, proponent, and then keeping the secrecy as well. And then we move to the 13th section, which is about the provision of uh, provision of import of hazardous waste. So no person shall import hazardous waste into Pakistan and its territorial waters, exclusive economic zone, and historic waters. So this is very simply defined that nothing such thing which is hazardous, which is called hazardous, as defined in section of definitions, it it will it is considered to be prohibited, and it cannot be brought in these land in this land. So what is the territorial water, what is exclusive economic zone, and what is historic waters? I think you should go through the uh, you should search by yourself and find it out. These are some specific points, some limitations which until up to which the the boundary of the country is considered valid. So it is something about zone and then territorial waters. You can go through it by yourself. Moving forward to handling of hazardous substances, again, no person shall generate, collect, consign, transport, except licensed is issued by the federal agency within the provision of any other law for the time being in force. Then we have regulations of motor vehicles. In this, again, uh, the environmental quality standards are supposed to be maintained, and uh, if there is any kind of violation of the NEQS, then there must be installation to control this pollution. There are so many devices which are supposed to control these pollutions, and then no person shall operate any such vehicle. So this is kind of enforcement uh, until the it is implemented. The devices are applied to control the uh, um, pollution, motor vehicle pollution. So this is again environmental protection order. Actually, this order is about the um uh, overall implementation, and if any discrepancy found by a federal or a provincial agency related to environmental issues, the agencies can order such person to take necessary measures in provided time by the agency. So the agency will specify some time limit in which that person will perform the compliance, and then different measures will be taken. And what are those measures? Those measures are discussed here: to take immediate step to stop, to prevent, to lessen or control discharge emissions, and then installation of some equipment, and then action to remove or dispose the effluent, and then action to restore the environment to the conditions existing prior to that. So all these things are under the section of the environmental protection order. So this is directly implemented by the federal agency. It can intervene, and it can uh, directly account for that person to comply these uh, environmental issues and non-compliances. So where the person to whom directions under subsection 1 are given does not comply, and in that case may recover the cost of taking such measures from such persons as arrears of land revenue. So this is one of the options which can be opted by the federal agency. Now here are the penalties. It is quite important, and I think it is described in detail as well. So whoever contravenes or fails to comply with the provisions in the as described in the previous sections, which are 11, 12, and 13, and section 16, um, it is going to implement, it is going to have a penalty of about 1 million rupees. So this is one this is only for the section 11, 12, and 13 and 16. So and then whoever contravenes section 14 or 15, in that case uh, the punishment is comparatively less, and it is about 100,000 rupees. So it depends upon the intensity of the uh, loss to the environment. So initially for section 11, 12, 13, 16, the penalty is higher, and in for section 14 and 15 the penalty is lower. And similarly the magistrate take into account the extent and duration of the contravention. So for since how long it is disturbing the environment or creating environmental issue, it is also important. So if you check here, this subsection 2, sorry, subsection 3, where an accused has been convicted, the environmental tribunal and environmental magistrate will take into account the extent and duration of the contravention. So the time is important. So since how long they are affecting, and then as a solution, monetary benefits are also considered. So how much monetary benefits have been accrued, uh, that will also be considered in this case, and it will be asked to that offender or a polluter to pay that money to the for their loss. So the subsection 5, uh, if still when a person convicted under this and had been previously convicted and for any contravention, if it is a continuation of the previous contravention means disobedience. So if it is in continuity, then the following things will be can be conducted by the magistrate or tribunal. First of all, to endorse a copy to the concerned trade or association or industry or chamber, and then he or the person can be sentenced to imprisonment, and then closure of the factory can be ordered, or confiscation can also be uh, uh, conducted. So confiscation is to control that factory, and then such person to restore the environment at his own cost to the conditions existing prior to the contravention. So he is supposed to rehabilitate that environment to conserve that environmental condition which was existing before the contamination. So you can go through these things on your own. Again, I think it's about the application of the accused compound. In the subsection 6, it is about the Director General of the federal agency or of a provincial agency, or an officer generally or specially authorized by him in this behalf, may, on the application of the accused compound, an offence under this act, with the permission of the environmental tribunal or environmental magistrate, in accordance with such procedures as may be prescribed. So what is compound of offence? So it is a criminal act in which a person agrees not to report the occurrence of a crime, or not to the prosecute a criminal offender in exchange for money or under consideration or any other consideration. So again, if we check it, on application of the accused compound, an offence under this act, with the permission of the environmental tribunal or environmental magistrate, in accordance with such procedure as may be prescribed. So if there is no complaint uh, being registered, then in that case it is called compound of offence. So the DG has its authority, or any other person who is authorized, he is having this authority. When the DG or of federal agency or provincial agency is of the opinion that a person has contravened any provision of this act, he may, subject to the rules, by notice in writing to that person, require him to pay to the federal agency, or as the case may be, provincial agency, an administrative penalty in the amount set out in the notice for each day the contravention continues. And a person who pays an administrative penalty of contravention shall not be charged under this act with an offence in respect of such contravention. So the DG has the authority to DG has the authority to ask the person who is causing pollution, who is who has contravened, to pay on daily basis. And if he is paying on that in this, then in that case he will not be charged. It is further explained in the subsection 8. So it is only possible, uh, who has compounded an offence under this act, or who has paid an administrative penalty for the contravention of any provision of this act. So this is further explanation to the seventh subsection. Now it is something about the offences by the bodies corporate. So where any contravention of this act has been committed by a body corporate, and it is proved that such offence has been committed with the consent or con- uh, consent, or is attributed to any negligence, or the part of any director, partner, manager, secretary, So, in simple, it is about the responsibility, to whom the responsibility will be shifted. If the problem lies with the uh, bodies corporate, so bodies corporate is an um, organization or an industry or an office. So in that case, the uh, the director or partner or manager or secretary, all who is responsible, will be accounted for this penalty, all the penalties as described before. And in view of the ordinance 1984, it was about the chief executive. In the ordinance it was described. So, for the purpose of this section, body corporate includes firm, association of persons, or and a society registered under the uh, Societies Registration Act, this, and then Corporative Societies Act, this. So here is something about the offences of government agencies, local authorities, and again in this case the head will be responsible. Now something about the tribunal. Uh, The federal government may notify the establishment of tribunals, and as considered necessary. And the important thing is that the limits, territorial limits, will be specified. And then uh, environmental tribunal will constitute of a chairperson who is qualified for appointment as a judge of high court, and then uh, he will be appointed on the consultation of the chief justice of high court, along with two members to be appointed, and from which one at least will be a technical member. So then chairperson and not less than one member shall be necessary for conducting the for the functioning of the tribunal. So a decision of must express the majority of the members, including the chairperson himself. So, environmental tribunal shall not, merely by reason of change composition, can be bound to recall or rehear only because of the reason that the there is a change in the composition um, of the bodies of the tribunal. Similarly, I think you can go through the remaining, and that's all for today's lecture. And in the next lecture, again, we will continue with the act. We still have a few sections remaining. And basically the purpose is to familiarize you with all the legislation made in this act, so that while you are working on different projects, you are quite familiar with these rules and regulations which have been demonstrated in this act. Thank you very much.